Thursday, November 22nd, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start further, I'd like to thank all the viewers from the US for their support and wish them a happy Thanksgiving Day today for them. We're not celebrating Thanksgiving here in the UK. We don't have a Thanksgiving. And I don't think in any part of the world they're celebrating it today. I think Canada has a Thanksgiving Day, but I think it could be in October, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. I've celebrated Thanksgiving once when I was at university in the States. One of my friends invited me to his house to spend it with his family, and that's what it's all about, being with your family and eating well. So hopefully you guys have a great day. Today I want to talk about the pendulum of big government and the hope that it's swinging towards small government. And I'll show you some charts and talk about how government, the size of government, especially the central government in the US is the federal government. In the UK, it's the central government, has fluctuated over the last few hundred years, and how I think the way the pendulum has swung, it's due for a swing back to small government, hopefully, because everything goes in cycles, and nothing that is unsustainable remains sustainable for too long. Before that, of course, I'm going to look at the markets. The markets are trading. Even the U.S. indices, futures, are trading on Thanksgiving Day. I think it will be a half day in the futures. Tomorrow, the markets reopen in the U.S., but even the stock markets will close around 1 p.m. on New York time, I think. So it will probably be a lot quieter. Europe, everything's up and running as normal. There are no holidays, of course, as I said earlier. So it's a little later today, 8:45 a.m. Billy is back. He's been around, but he's getting harder and harder to wake up in the morning. He did have a haircut the other day, so if you notice, he's trimmed and clean, and he smells good now. He was smelling a bit doggy before. This morning we've got spot gold at $1227.50, up $1.40. Yeah, we've been stuck here between 1220 and 1230 the last few days. Very stable considering all the activity in the markets, in the stock markets. Yesterday, not a great day for the stock market, I would say, especially the Dow. It was up most of the day, and it closed really on a weak note, and it actually closed the day down just down about a point, so virtually unchanged. S&P did close up 1/3%, and the Nasdaq up 0.9%. So not all bad for the stock market, but not great. Not a really great rebound from the previous drops that we've seen this week. Silver yesterday outperformed. This morning it's down just about over a cent. It's at 14.48. The range has been 14.44 to 14.55. The Dow future this morning is down 40 right now at 24.428. We're down 0.16%. We're right near the lows, so it's fairly quiet, I would say. S&P down 7 or 1/4% at 26.43. Nasdaq 100 future is down 0.4% or 25 points at 65.48. Currencies are fairly quiet. Cable or the pound is at 127.82, up 5 pips. The euro is up 0.14% at 114.01. And the dollar is down 0.1% against the yen at 112.90. Dollar yuan 692.80, unchanged. What about crude? Well, crude oil is down 75 cents WTI, or 1.3% at 53.80, and the Brent is down 1.2% at 62.84. And natural gas has come off a little bit. It's down almost 3% at 4.36. I mean, it ended the week last week at around 4.20, 4.27. So it's still higher, but off the recent highs. 10-year yield, or the U.S. Treasury market, is closed today. So nothing there. Italy, still fairly volatile here. We're up 6 basis points now. The 10-year yield in Italy at 3.53. Looks like the EU is going to fine Italy. They're going to fine them with monetarily. So that's probably going to make it even worse for them to try to lower their, how can I say, their deficit. The Italian government has said that they will try to tweak the budget, but they won't change the basic intent of the budget. So still needs to keep an eye on that. What about cryptocurrency? Some of you have asked me, you did an update on cryptocurrencies. Well, we broke some key support a week or so ago. Cryptocurrencies have been on the back foot. What have I been doing with my cryptocurrencies? Not much, just holding on to them. I have said in the past that cryptocurrencies have a future and the blockchain technology, but you need to sit through a lot of volatility, and you need to prepare to lose. Well, unless you liquidate them, you won't lose. You don't, how can I say, realize the loss. One thing I would say is that a lot of these altcoins won't be around. There will be winners and losers, and the best you can do is do your homework and see the projects that you like, and be sure you do your homework really thoroughly. It's not just looking at the project and the prospects for that, but also all the procedures, all the technical things you need to learn about how to store your cryptocurrencies, how to safely store them, hard wallets, and exchanges. And yeah, you need to do all those homeworks, and I'm sure there's a lot of videos out there that will tell you about that. I don't focus completely on cryptocurrencies, so I think there's other people there who could, help you a lot more than me. One thing I would say, you need to, if you're going to be in cryptocurrencies, you need to keep always abreast of things, because things are always changing. You're getting new versions for wallets, so you need to update them. So it's you can't just buy a cryptocurrency, put it in your wallet, and leave it. Although you could, but you will need to do a lot of homework in the future if you want to get back into it. Well, what have I done? Well, I've actually bought some more of the project that I think, in my opinion, will do really well. And that's just my personal opinion. That's EOS. A couple of days ago, I bought a few more tokens and added to my holding, because I still think, these prices are a bit like, what the old saying goes, that the best time to buy is when there's bloods in the streets. That's cryptocurrencies. So now back to this pendulum I was talking about. And that's why, I think it's very important that we look at history to see where we are now and where we're going in the future. And in this case, it just goes to show, looking at history, how government has become so big, in my opinion. I mean, you look at here from trading economics, country list government spending to GDP, and these countries here in Europe especially, government is taking more than half of the wealth of the country to spend on the country it's taking the wealth from. We know governments are not efficient, especially central governments. They're not efficient. So why should we give them more than half our money so that they can run our lives? And in my opinion, that's one of the reasons Europe is doing so badly. Government is too big. Look at France. 56.5% of the private wealth goes to the government. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. Finland, 53.7. Belgium, 52.2. You have to get to Austria to see it come down below 50. But I would say, I mean, you look at the UK, 41. I would say, you know, compared to France, that's much better, but still very high. United States, this is just the federal government, 37.7. Yeah, that's very good, but still very high compared to the 19th century. And we're going to look at that in a moment. Well, it's funny here that the lowest one here in this list is Afghanistan. 11.9%, which is a country the U.S. has been at war with and has been there or invaded it about 16 years ago. That tells you something, doesn't it? Switzerland, 33%. That's very good. You know, you look at some of these countries here that are, you know, Australia, you know, that has doing fairly well, 36%. But I still think it's very high. What is the purpose of government? Well, in my opinion, is just to administer the rule of law, and that's it. I guess the other thing that we could look into that would help swing the pendulum to smaller government is dissolution of a central, you know, this central government, federal government. I mean, you look at Europe, in the first half of the 19th century, there's no such country as Italy. There's no such country as Germany. They were all small city-states, principalities, and there was no big central government. And I'm sure government spending was a lot lower back then. And was even lower when Italy and Germany unified in the second half of the 19th century. The same goes for the US and the UK. And hopefully the fact that the debt burden is getting so big, especially in the time of supposed recovery for the economies right now, debt keeps growing and government spending keeps growing. When there is a recession, I think that will be a problem, and hopefully that will be what triggers a bigger, you know, the start of a swing towards smaller government. And I've got these charts here and this is from usgovernmentspending.com. And you look at U.S. federal spending since the founding of the United States, and up until before World War I, you see there, it was always below 5% of GDP. You had the spike, of course, during the Civil War, where it got up to almost 15%. Then you had the spike during World War I, which was a war the United States really didn't need to get into, of course. And it went up to 25%. But then it came back down, but it started going up during, you know, prior to World War II. And I would say that's partly to do with the Federal Reserve, the creation of the central bank. And then World War II came along and, you know, federal spending shot up to almost 50% of GDP. Of course, after the war, it came down, but it has stayed really high, you know, since the end of World War II. And I think it's about time that it starts swinging towards, you know, below 10%, even though, yeah, we're now at 33%, according to that data. This chart here, I'm not sure why it's only above 20%, the federal spending. Maybe the other one, you know, the 33 adds state spending. And the same thing for the UK government. you read here this article from Deloitte. It says 300 years of public spending, and it says that prior to the welfare state of the 20th century, government spending was less than 10%. It was small. It was only during times of war that government spending went up a lot. It says that during the Napoleonic Wars, government spending as a share of GDP went from single digits to 20%. And then, World War I and World War II, it became a lot bigger. It was like, because there are major wars, 60%. But now, we're at 40% still in peacetime. Why not go back to less than 10%? I guess it's because of the welfare state, of course, social spending, schooling, health, welfare. So has education become better? Has health really become better? Is government really fit to run things? I don't think so. I think we need to move away from big government, and hopefully the next recession, next crisis will trigger a move towards that. People will realize that they don't need to earn their living, save their wealth, and give it to the government to run it for them. They don't need a broker. They can do it themselves. Then they can be self-sufficient. The people who argue, oh, we need a free NHS, free this, free schooling, they don't look at the alternatives, that maybe we are good enough to look after ourselves. We don't need people who lie, cheat, and steal to run our lives. It's crazy. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Let's hope the pendulum swings towards smaller government. Of course, I'm not holding my breath, but we need to get people out there to wake up and realize that they need to be self-sufficient and they don't need government to run their lives. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it far and wide, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and you can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. I wish you all a great Thanksgiving in the US and a great day elsewhere. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.